So the Act defines divestment to include keeping assets in a blind trust. It's a loophole. I don't think for a second that when Canadians hear that someone says, well, I've divested my assets, so the question of conflicts of interest, the questions of transparency have all been answered. Isn't it time that we require that the Prime Minister and party leaders fully sell controlled assets within 30 days of taking office? So we're being specific here. We're not talking about their home, but controlled assets.
That, again, is a policy proposal. It's certainly worthy of discussion. I'll simply note the following things: that the member's right. Divestment is defined to include not divestment, which is a challenge. The second thing is the Commissioner has told us that the assets in these blind trusts are not mixing or churning the way one would expect them to, which does create a problem that people then know what's in their blind trust when the whole purpose of the trust is they're not supposed to. And I'll add that I do agree with the Commissioner that if there is to be mandatory real divestment, not blind trusts, that a solution would be to offset or compensate public office holders so they're made whole. The taxes on capital gains go to the Crown anyway, so the Crown can easily forego those for the sake of making the Conflict of Interest Act work if that's what Parliament decides is necessary.
And there are currently costs that go with the management of blind trusts as well. Who pays to manage the trust?
The Crown.
You talked about the Act being, quote, toothless. So if we were to give it real teeth by allowing meaningful fines, and you did speak to some of what you thought was material or immaterial in terms of amounts, and you referenced jail time. You said there's no one's getting arrested, no one's paying fines. Would $10,000 fines for serious ethical breaches, instead of just limiting penalties to paperwork errors, do you think that would serve as sufficient deterrent for the people who'd hold these offices?
No, I think that making something an offense and allowing for prosecution and conviction by the courts with real fines or imprisonment is the way to do it. But I'll add that, Chair, in response to the question, I have to say that may mean that some things go out of the law. The problem with making this an act and not having penalties is that you're actually giving the illusion that it means something, right? Every other time, most of the times Parliament enacts something, it adds penalties. We have laws that govern marine transportation, our railways, our airports, our customs and all that. And generally when Parliament legislates, those who break the rules are subject to either administrative monetary penalties or most often prosecution and real penalties. The problem with this act is it's kind of illusory. It looks like it means something because it's in an act, but it's not there. So the answer to the question is I think there should be real penalties, including the possibility of jail time, but that may mean that some rules have to be stripped out of the act if they are the kind of rules that ought not to be amenable to those harsher consequences.